Hello everyone, just Gordon here and welcome back to another Planet Zoo real life inspiration video, and today we are looking at the Gemsbok, which means we've got a bunch of awesome safari enclosures to look at, and we are starting in Safaripark Bergen, where we can see this lovely baby Gemsbok. Bergen for the longest time only had females, but a few years ago they got a male and immediately there was some breeding success and this lovely baby was born. I think they've already had success again, but don't quote me on that. But we're looking at the savanna enclosure over here, and in the background is actually the enclosure. There is this moat in between the point where we were watching just now and here, which makes it very seamless and beautiful looking. But yeah, as you walk along over here you definitely do see the moat, but still it's an amazing view of this enormous safari habitat, which is shared with blue wildebeest, grand zebra and ellipse waterbuck, and as of not too long ago also zebu. But yeah, just an absolute massive enclosure. Very recently they also built this brand new meerkat and battered fox enclosure, which has a view of the savanna behind it, so you might see the Gemsbok or the zebra walking behind there, which is a really awesome view right there. On the other side of the field you also have a more elevated walkway, as you can see over here, where you're looking at all the animals walking around here as well, including of course the little Gemsbok that we saw before. Which was actually right up against the fence over here, so that was absolutely adorable. But yeah, here you can see it's a very simple fence, very simple gates, but just containing a huge space that you can also drive through with your car, as you can see right over there. So we'll have a look at that in a moment as well. The path we're walking on right now actually has parts of the enclosure both on the left and right. We're kind of walking through the middle of it, although one part of it is much larger than the other, but as you can see over here there is this bridge that the cars and the animals go under. When the animals are crossing there you definitely have to stop your car for a moment, but yeah, look at all these views. And then at the part we're getting to right now, here you can see where the backstage is, all the way back there, and we can see Gemsbok walking around there as well. But yeah, at the end of the day you'll see the animals gather up over there because they want to go inside of their stall. As for the car safari, this is actually the first enclosure of the car safari, so this is the first you see. You can see they put the feeders for the animals pretty close to the road to make sure that the animals are usually visible, which is quite nice. And yeah, there you can see the waterbuck, here we see the wildebeest, but you're just driving through the middle of it all and you get to see all these animals. Here we see more of those very simple fences. It will always just be such an amazing experience. It never gets old getting to see these animals from such a perspective and from the comfort of your own car. Seeing the Gemsbok, as you can see right over here, which is just really awesome. But there is one thing that is cooler than seeing the animals from the comfort of your own car, and that would be seeing the animals from the game drive. An open safari vehicle that you can book for an extra fee, and it brings you close to the animals because it actually also does go off-road. So we got some unique views of the enclosure from here that you wouldn't see from the car or the walking route. As you can see right here, you can also kind of see where they usually drive because there's road markings all around this place. But yeah, really awesome experience, highly recommend it if you do ever go to the Beekse Bergen. But I think that's enough Beekse Bergen for now. Let's move on to the next zoo, which is the Zoo of Berlin, where the Gemsbok can be found in this nice hoofstock row. It has the classic zoo feel, but it does look a bit more modern than just a straight row of hoofstock enclosures. But yeah, they are in this area where you can find a bunch of other hoofstock, like several types of zebra, things like that. But yeah, it's just a decent enclosure for a small amount of Gemsbok, I would say. And then next up we have Van Blanckendaell Park, where we have this very straight, square, small grassy field, which the Gemsbok can call home. I'm not a really big fan of this one. As you can see over here, we also do have a bit of a separation area, and in the back is the stall where we can see the Gemsbok lying in there. I think they only have one, and what's interesting is that this is a shared enclosure with the scimitar horned oryx, but not shared in the sense that they share the space. They share the enclosure. They have to take turns, because as you can see over here, this is the side of the scimitar horned oryx, and here the gate is closed, so they only have this little concrete area, and I'm guessing they take turns on the grassy field. I'm not a big fan of this. It's very small. It's kind of sad. So yeah, let's quickly move on from that and go to Serengeti-park Hodenhagen, where we do have a lovely, huge safari enclosure similar to the Beekse Bergen. This is also a car safari drive-through, but yeah, there's a lot of cool vistas, but mainly just a lot of space over here. There's a huge grassy field, which doesn't look as visually interesting as the one in the Beekse Bergen, which does have a bit more terrain variation, but yeah, it's still really awesome that the animals have all of this space to roam and graze, and yeah, it's just really great. You can also view it from some other things than the car. As you could see just now, there was kind of a bridge going alongside it. So let's look at some of those other viewpoints. So over here we have the Serengeti Aussicht, the Serengeti site, the observation post, where you have a very nice elevated view from this side of the enclosure, where you can pretty much take the entire place in. And then on the other side of the enclosure there is that bridge that we also saw from the car, where you can have several views into this space. And you can see that at the end of the day, the car safari does get a little clogged in these kind of times. So yeah, didn't go back for a second lap of the car safari, sadly. And then that leads us to the last zoo for the Gemsbok, that is the Zoo of Krefeld, where we have another lovely savanna mixed enclosure. For a smaller zoo like Krefeld, I think this is actually a really nice inclusion. They have plenty of space here, and they've got a nice mix with ostriches, eland, pelican as well over here, which are housed in this little wooden building. And then there's a little dock where you are looking over the water that the pelicans could go in across the savanna over here. I really like this part of the enclosure. But yeah, this is also home to the Gemsbok, along with these other animals that we can see. Here you see some of the backstage for the pelican, and also the stables in the back there. And there are other observation points like the one over here, where you get a nice view of the whole safari, or the savanna enclosure, I should say. And another view that's really cool is this one, where you're looking over the black rhino enclosure, so you've got another animal kind of mixed in with the view. So those are all the Gemsbok enclosure, but we also have this animal over here, which looks almost exactly like the Gemsbok, but this is actually a Beisa Oryx, which is a different animal, but they're similar enough that I wanted to include them. So let's start with Dierenpark Amersfoort, where these guys can be viewed in the big savanna enclosure as well. The first look at I got of them was over here from the lemur island, but you can also view them from the water, from the moat between the lemur island and the enclosure. And yeah, you can take this little paddle boat, and as long as you don't get stuck at this point like I did, you will get really great views of the animals. Yeah, you have a lovely view of the entire enclosure, and you're viewing it from the boat, you're viewing it from down below, from down at the water. So it's a lovely view. You get some great perspectives on the animals. You can also see this big aviary has a small viewpoint into the enclosure as well, so from the aviary. So you can also view the enclosure from this side, a different perspective, and yeah, you get another look at all these beautiful animals in here. But of course, there is more. The walking route does continue along here as well. Here you can see the fences that are relatively tall, of course, because this is also mixed with giraffes. I am a big fan of the logs that they use as the fence posts and also as the supporting beams for this next viewing area, which is a bit more elevated. It gives you a nice overview of this more wooded part of the enclosure. And being in the more wooded part of the enclosure, all those logs do make sense. They kind of make everything blend together a bit more. And then the last viewpoint over here is from this other elevated point, which is definitely designed more so for the giraffes. As you can see over here, there's also a bunch of feeders for the giraffes right there. But it also gives you great views of the rest of the animals in the enclosure. So yeah, that's it for Dierenpark Amersfoort. The next Beisa Oryx can be found at Tierpark Berlin, where we have this really beautiful, this was one of my favorite areas in the zoo, just this really lovely savanna area. I love all the planting on the visitor side here. The landscaping of the enclosures was really well done. Yeah, this was one of my favorite areas. I think it's also one of the more recent areas in the zoo, so it makes sense that it would be good. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, it's just a big savanna enclosure, all sorts of animals in here, zebra, Thompson gazelle, wildebeest, and also the Gemsbok. I'm not sure if all of them are mixed or if there's barriers in between them. I don't think I saw any, but couldn't confirm it either from Google Earth, because on Google Earth the area is actually still under construction. Regardless of what is the case, it's still really great inspiration from a lovely Africa area over here. Then next up we have Parc Animalier de Bouillon, and here in Bouillon we have the Beisa Oryx, I almost said Gemsbok, in their own separate enclosure, which is kind of this downhill slope that you're walking on the uphill part of, which I'm never a big fan of. We can see they have a little shelter over there. Over here's the fence into the enclosure, which also provides you with a view. For some reason they all got startled for me. I'm not sure what I did to scare them off, but yeah, not a horrible enclosure by any means, just not a great viewing experience in my opinion. But that's it for the Bouillon. So let's move to the last zoo of the video. It's Bergen Zoo. We've seen this enclosure a lot of times already, most recently with the white rhinos. But yeah, that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a beautiful savanna enclosure. I only wish there were a few more viewpoints like the one at the start, where you're down on the ground looking at the animals instead of above them looking down. But I also do like the fact that it's a slow and steady increase upwards towards the terrace that is at the end of this, which has a great view of the safari, which we'll be able to see once we get there. Over here we also see the transition areas between the main enclosure and the backstage. We got some holding pens, which is also where I saw the Beisa Oryx, as you can see over here. But yeah, as we continue making our way past these, we have some more looks into some of these holding pens. The tree is nicely protected from all the animals that probably want to scratch themselves on them. And then we get onto the roof of these backstage areas, and that's where we have this lovely decorated path. I love all the plants on here, the green roof, and we have a few more glimpses of the enclosure from here. But ultimately we make our way through these kopjerorks and onto the terrace, where you can have a lovely meal with a view of this amazing savanna, pelicans in front, which you get an even better view of as we head down over here and take one more look at this. And then we're going to have a small look into these stalls. I'm not sure if the Beisa Oryx can also be seen in these same stalls, but I imagine their stalls look similar to the ones of the other animals, the wildebeest, the zebra, the water bug. They all have these similar stalls, so probably the Beisa Oryx does as well, just further in the back without a guest viewing. But that's gonna be it for me today. Those were all the Gemsbok and Beisa Oryx enclosures that I've seen. Hope you enjoyed and got some Gemsbok inspiration. I'll see you all in the next inspiration video. Bye bye!